Hello and welcome to this episode of Beat Teacher Burnout. I wonder, are you a leader or a teacher and you go from term to term and you have this intense time through the term and you manage just to get to the holidays and then you get sick? Or perhaps you've really struggled with your journey through getting to be a teacher and then becoming a leader. Or maybe it's something like you're suffering from imposter syndrome. We're going to cover all these things today with my guest Daniel. So welcome, Daniel. Thank you for being with us.
Hello, Rena. Nice to see you.
So Daniel, I know you're a CEO. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about how you got into teaching and what you do now?
Yes, well, I'm Deputy CEO, not yet CEO, Rowena.
Sorry, have I just done someone out of a job?
Yes, so, but yeah, I'm currently a Deputy CEO of Multi Academy Trust, and I have been working in education for quite a number of years. And it wasn't the usual route into education, shall I say. I remember being at school where I was told I wasn't clever enough to be a teacher. And I think that gave me some determination to prove people wrong and actually work to get where I am today. So it was a different route, a longer route maybe than usual route. I had to obviously go back to night school to get some GCSEs, and then I went to college and did my nursery nurse training, which set me up in really good foundations for actually child development and how children learn. And I will always take that with me as a really good foundation as I then went into education as a teaching assistant and trained on the job and worked my way through into different teaching positions, senior leader positions to where I am today. So yeah, a long route and a circuitous route, I think.
Yeah. Well, I love that because I know there's people listening who have all sorts of jobs within the teaching profession and actually some out of it. But, for those of you who are thinking, do you want to become a teacher or how can I become a teacher if you don't go down the traditional route? Like someone like me went straight from school to university to do my BEd-ons, and then I went straight into my first job. I've never done anything apart from school, really. So I guess that gives hope for people. I'm fascinated by these words your teacher said to you. How can a teacher say, you're not clever enough to be a teacher? And I just feel so grateful knowing you a bit as I do, that you had that determination to sort of say, well, stuff you slightly and prove them wrong. But does that impact how you now speak to others, do you think?
Definitely. Words are so powerful, aren't they? And we forget that actually a simple phrase or word can stick with you and can have a significant impact. And I think it did for me because it then triggered that imposter syndrome that I've talked before about the fact that actually when people say that you're not clever enough and not good enough, and they don't mean anything by it, they're just practically saying you haven't got the qualifications or you're not going to get the grades at this point. Instead of saying this is how you get there, it's very much right. Okay, you say to yourself you're not good enough and you're not able to do that job. And I think, but it gave me the resilience and determination to actually move forward and prove people wrong. And I think I've always been that type of person as a result of that. Well, do you know what? I'm going to show you. I was always raised to work really hard, and you had to work hard to get where you want to in life and kind of and get where you needed to be. And for me, that was it. And it's that real resilience of showing people I will find a way around it and I will do it. And I think it's really powerful. And when we talk to our children and our staff, that we really think about the words and those dismissive phrases that we use sometimes. We've got to just stop and think, take time to think in what we're saying and what we want those words to mean and the intended outcome. We ask our teachers and our staff and leaders all the time, think about what you're saying and how you're saying it. What impact does that have on children? We've got to think about it as leaders as well to make sure our staff have the right support and kind of guidance and feel the worth and the value in what they're doing to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, you've touched on a whole new subject there on feeling their worth and their value, and we might go back there. But I guess the thing for me is, I mean, the research about imposter syndrome is big, and it's, the majority of us have this imposter syndrome. And I guess, you're saying we talk to our children, of course we talk to the pupils, and we talk to the staff about using their words, but what words are we using for ourselves? Because we are our worst inner critic, aren't we? And how do you overcome that, having sort of had such imposter syndrome as you went up the ranks? How did you manage that?
I think a lot of the time was that you would always, or certainly I did, would always say yes. If there was something that was happening, a project, I'd be saying, yes, I'll do that. I'll take that on. I'll take that responsibility. I want to be part of that, to prove and to show that actually I was good enough, I felt I had to prove to everybody else. Whereas I think whether it's as you get older or you become more experienced and more knowledgeable, I still have that imposter syndrome. It sits on your shoulder all the time, but I've learned to acknowledge that. And it's okay to feel that imposter syndrome. It's okay to have those doubts. You have to acknowledge that and think, well, what can I do about it? Can I make a change? If I can, do I want to? Is it worth it? If not, you just accept it. And you have to learn that you don't have to be great at everything. You have to work with great people around you that help bring the best out of you, like you bring the best out of them. So it's okay not to know everything, or to be confident in everything. You need to know who to talk to and who to ask to help when you need to. But I found just acknowledging that doubt is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I love that. Can we just go back to where you're talking about your staff and ensuring they feel seen and heard? How do you do that?
A big thing for me and for our organisation is being present. And there is a real difference to being seen and heard. And for me, you have to not only just listen to what people are saying, but be present in the space, focus on them, know a bit about them. We have lots of different people that work in our schools, and actually we need to see them more as teachers or teaching assistants of staff. We see them as individuals. And actually I make a real point of trying to know a little bit about everybody, so that when you're having conversations, you've got that familiarity. We're able to have those conversations, because that goes a long way. It's the small things sometimes that make the biggest difference. It's not grand gestures, but actually, I know that you've got a dog and that dog's been unwell, or that you've had something going on outside recently. So I'm going to ask about that, because it makes you feel valued. It makes you feel heard and seen as a person, not just as a teacher or a member of support staff. And for me, that's really important, that personal relationship, which empowers you then to have those professional conversations and know that people feel valued. It comes back to what I said earlier about culture. What's the culture of our organisation? Trying to be seen and heard as individuals, because we're more than just teachers. We have personal lives, we have outside lives, and that's so important to get that balance, and to ensure that people aren't burning themselves out, that you notice a change. It's not that they're telling you. You have to read between the lines. You have to see sometimes that actually you're not as open in the conversation, or when I'm asking you, you're a little bit closed off. Why is that? Let me talk to you a little bit more. Let's just have a chat over coffee or something where you can, I think.
I love that. And my passion obviously is to help schools to both individually for their staff, but also culturally for the school, to find ways to beat the burnout, that, the crisis that's going on, and, staff are leaving too much, and we've got to stop that. And actually, what all the staff say to me, doesn't matter what level they're at, the top leaders and the new ECTs and the teaching assistants, they're saying to me, we want to be valued, we want to be seen, and we want to be heard. And I have just done a blog after I interviewed a teacher, and he said that he lost his identity in his role. He became a teacher and he lost who he was. And because he was doing a bit of what you did, Daniel, in taking on every new project, he had to prove himself, he felt, because he never felt he was quite good enough. He just became an empty shell, was how he described it. And I guess for the leaders listening, how do they get that time to be able to value their staff, to see them, to hear them, because that's very time consuming.
It is, but it's very important. It goes a long way. We talk about teacher retention, absence. It's where we have to put that our weight sometimes and think, what if we prioritize that? If we prioritize time to walk around in the morning and talk to people, it doesn't have to be a huge amount of time, but being seen and having those conversations has had a positive impact because people feel valued. They'll want to come to work. It doesn't solve everything. Nothing does, but actually it gives people that incentive of feeling part of a school community. And we say to leaders, you have to prioritize certain things. And if you're developing that culture, you might have to spend more time walking around and communicating with people, being seen and just having those conversations. And for us then, how can we help them with that? How do we support them? Well, we think about how we can work more collaboratively across all of our schools, how we can share the workload to free that time back up for our leaders and say to them, right, you need time to think, you need time to stop, you need time to reflect. Part of that is going out and talking to your members of staff. It's about being in the staff room. So carving time out that you protect, where you don't have anything scheduled, which is really hard. I found it one of the most difficult things to do when I first started, blocking out time in my diary and not having anything written down as to do. But I knew where I wanted to go and what some of that flex I needed was. So then I could say, right, okay, I'm blocking that time out. I might do a bit of this, or I might go off and just talk to somebody else about something or do some blue sky thinking. But it was important that I carve that time out and protect it in order to do those other bits, like talk to staff and children and the community with which we serve.
Wow, that's such a sort of nugget of treasure in there, Daniel, because the statistics on teacher stress, significant stress, sort of unhealthy stress levels is just under 80%, but for leaders it's over 80%, quite well over 80%. And so I think it's really important that leaders are looking after themselves, because all the research shows that if leaders are looking after themselves and are thriving or flourishing, whatever word you want to use, then that impacts the whole of the community, because then the teachers pick that up and the pupils actually do better as well. So it comes right the way down. Are there any other tips you would give for the leaders on how to look after themselves?
It is taking time and prioritizing their own well-being. You can spend a lot of time doing lots of different things, but actually it is about taking time, knowing who you can talk to. I try and take my leaders sometimes on a one-to-one out for just a cup of coffee, just for a chat. And we encourage them to make links with other leaders within our trust as well, so that they've got somebody that they can just talk to. It's knowing who you can talk to and that it's okay. And we give permission. We trust our staff. So we say to them, do you know what? If that's what you need to give you that time back, you go and have a conversation with somebody. You go and meet another head and you have a cup of coffee and just talk to them for an hour to look after yourself. Somebody that's experiencing similar things, somebody that you may just want to offload. It's okay to do that during the school day. It doesn't have to be outside of school hours. If that's prioritizing you to think more strategically, or if that's giving you time to actually reflect on how you need to solve a problem, that's okay. And giving that trust back to our staff. We've been in a very, for a long time, everything's judged, everything's evaluated, everything's rated and graded. And we're actually saying, you know what, we trust you. We trust you to manage your time. We can have conversations, so we don't need to measure everything all the time. We trust you to do your job. We'll spend time talking to you and just having that time where you tell us about your school, you tell us about what things are great. We'll go and see that and we have a professional conversation. That's much more powerful than just going in with a clipboard or measuring things in the way that we might have done in the past. And I find just spending an hour with a head teacher, just letting them talk, that coaching, that listening approach to our leaders just gives them that time to think out loud. When do they get time to just talk and not really have anything that they need to talk about, but just get it all out and process it? So yeah, long-winded way of saying, find somebody that you can talk to and then just have that time set aside.
Yeah, yeah, really, really good. Final question. I know that your school they're talking about being brave and being bold right now. Can you tell us about that? What is that about?
Well, like we said about workload and well-being, we've had a real push this year on, do you know what, we're going to be brave. We're going to think about doing things differently. We're going to look at how we can work more effectively across all of our schools to really reduce the workload, getting the right people round the right table. We don't need everybody to be doing everything. We've got lots of experts. So just because we've got 8 schools, we don't need 8 leaders, 8 subject leaders to come and do some curriculum work. So really thinking about how we can utilise that a little bit more. Do we need every member of staff to come to that staff meeting around worked examples when we've got staff that are really skilled at it and actually they can focus on something else? So really thinking about and kind of why we're doing what we're doing and taking things away, subtracting. We've over the past 10, 15, 20 years, we've always added more, but we've never taken time to think, well, let's take that away. So we're taking things out of our curriculum. We're putting flex back in. We're trying to create more space. We may get it wrong, but we're saying to our staff, that's okay. We're being brave. You don't get anywhere if you don't take risks. So we're trusting you to take a risk, to take a chance and think that through. If you want to try that, go ahead and we'll explore if it works or not. But we're always thinking now, what are we removing? Why are we removing? That value for money for our leaders and our teachers' time is really important. We've all sat in those meetings where we think, do you know what, I've got so many things I could be doing. Why am I hearing this again? So we're asking those questions. Do you need to be here? And if not, okay, let's be brave. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's change things.
Oh my goodness. So my big thing is that schools talk about well-being sometimes, and it's a bit of a sticking plaster. So they say, oh, we give everyone lunch at inset and we do donuts once a week. And although I do love donuts, so I'm happy with donuts once a week. And I used to do donuts once a week for staff sometimes, just because it brought the staff into the staff room and you could chat and then you're building relationships. But there's that sticking plaster effect of let's do a few add-ons, like maybe a yoga class, which one or two staff might like, but it's an add-on. But what I see making a difference in schools and the staff I speak to is where you have a whole school sort of cultural thinking change, which sounds to me like what you're doing very much right from the core. Would you agree?
Definitely. We do all those great things because there's some quick wins, aren't there? And actually, it's nice to have lunch with people. It's nice to do all these fun things. We've had Zumba classes. We've had Keep Fit classes. We've had just socialise. So there's lots of different things that we do. Hunt the duck. We've hid lots of ducks around, not real ones, little plastic ones that they would go and look and there'd be prizes. But it really is, that's a very short change. We're looking for fundamental, deep change, really deep rooted, that actually is going to help our staff long term and for anybody that's coming in. So that's why we're thinking about that systematic change and that real kind of root level change of why we're doing, what can we take out, what will have a real positive impact on workload, on well-being, really thinking about why we're doing what we're doing and what impact does that have. If it doesn't, let's stop doing it. Let's ask those questions, and we don't need to do it because we've always done it. So stripping it back and making sure that we involve all our stakeholders in that process. What we think is going to be good for workload and well-being as leaders may not make the slightest bit of difference. So actually, this is where we talk to people, and we get it wrong. Like I say, communication, we're not perfect, but it's trying to talk to the right people about, if we do this, how will that help you? Or what can you feed back? And let's reflect on that. So it's a co-collaboration, co-construction, not a done-to process. So we build from within together, because it comes back to that culture. If we co-construct it, that culture is strong, the roots are strong, which then you can build that kind of real successful support for the children and our staff.
Wow, amazing. Gosh, lots of nuggets in there. Daniel, I just wonder if people want to find out about your school and, what you're doing, is there somewhere, how would they find you?
Yeah, definitely. They can reach out to me on our trust website, Cygnus Academies Trust. Be more than happy to kind of talk to them and collaborate. We're very much a a collaborative trust, always trying to build partnerships and relationships outside of our own trust, because we can learn a lot from others. And that co-collaboration is so important, because why are we doing all these different things when we can work better together and share and ease the workload for everyone?
Absolutely agree. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for your time and your all your experience that you shared. I know people are going to find that really useful. And thanks everyone for listening. Bye for now. Thanks for listening. I hope you took something of value from today. If you want to connect, I'm at rowenahicks.com, or I have a Facebook group, which is Preventing Teacher Burnout. So I look forward to connecting to you at one of those.